Click the bell icon and subscribe to our channel so that you will not miss any classes.
Hey everyone, we have studied about the nucleotides and amino acids, fatty acids, glycerol, cholesterol and all in last class. And now let's continue with another topic which is very important, that is primary and secondary metabolites. First of all, we need to understand what is metabolites or what are metabolites. Then we can understand about primary and secondary metabolites. Here, in all living organisms, there is a reactions taking place. The breakdown reactions are called catabolism and the synthesis reactions are called anabolism. And all these together, catabolic and anabolic reactions together, is called metabolism. So during the metabolism, that is, it could be a catabolic reactions or during an anabolic reaction, there is production of thousands of molecules. Sorry, we can call them as thousands of compounds are produced. We will call them as organic compounds, and all these organic compounds are derived at the end of metabolic reaction or in the intermediate of the organic reaction, which means what? During the metabolic reaction, at the end of metabolic reaction or at the middle of the metabolic reaction, there is production of thousands of compounds. Now we can call all these thousands of compounds, since they are produced at intermediate or end of metabolic reaction, so they are called as metabolites. And one should remember that all these metabolites are the products of metabolism and they contain carbon in them, hence they are nothing but biomolecules. Which means what? All the biomolecules in a living cell are produced at the intermediate of metabolic reaction or at the end of metabolic reaction, hence biomolecules themselves can be called as metabolites. So now I hope you have understood. Metabolites are nothing but biomolecules. Now, these biomolecules, based on their functions in the organism, are classified as primary metabolites and secondary metabolites. Let us study about these two in detail. First, let us take up about primary metabolites. Primary metabolites are those which actively participate in normal physiology and development of an organism. Here you should understand physiology means that is physiological reactions. It could be respiration, photosynthesis, digestion, excretion. Okay, all these are called physiological reaction. You should remember physiological reactions will take place in all the living cells. It could be plant, animal, microbe, anything. So which means what? In all living organisms there is production of a primary metabolites which take part in normal physiology and development. To quote few examples, it could be a protein or an amino acid or nucleotides. So what all? They are participating in normal physiology and development. When we observe animal cells produce only primary metabolites. This is very important. And in animal cells there is no occurrence or production of any type of secondary metabolites. So that's all about primary metabolites. So we have studied in detail about primary metabolites like amino acids, nucleotides, fats, glycerol, nucleotides. So what they are all examples of primary metabolites. Now important, we need to understand about now the secondary metabolites. Secondary metabolites are found or produced in plants, fungi and bacteria. So now you may ask question whether they produce secondary if they are producing secondary metabolites means whether they produce primary metabolites or not. So that is not the thing. Any living organism will, for surveillance, they have to produce primary metabolites. That is compulsory thing. But in In addition to primary metabolites, plants, fungi and bacteria produces other metabolites, that is other than primary metabolites, and they are called secondary metabolites. They are called as secondary metabolites because they do not participate in normal physiology and development. Remember, these are also produced during the metabolic reaction, either at the intermediate steps or at the final steps, but they do not participate in normal physiology and development, hence they are called secondary metabolites. If one is interested to study what is the function of secondary metabolites in these organisms, the functions or why the living organisms produce secondary metabolites is not clear. Now, to quote the examples for secondary metabolites, it could be a rubber, antibiotics, flavonoids, gums, then spices. These are all the examples for secondary metabolites. Now, these secondary metabolites do not have any function in the producing organisms, but that is in case of plants, fungi and bacteria. But when you see them, they are important in human welfare. That means human beings have started using these secondary metabolites for commercial purpose or for any other types of benefits. And also they found to have ecological importance. Ecological importance means they play an important role in interactions between the organisms. To quote one example, a scent, that is fragrance, produced in plant will be helpful in attraction of the insects for pollination. So that is a ecological importance. And some types of the gums produced by the plant will helps it to prevent the infection by the pathogenic organisms. So which means what? Secondary metabolites inside the plant body or a fungal or bacterial cells do not have any function, but instead they will be helpful in additional interactions between the organisms, or in we can call it as an ecological importance. In your textbook, one table is given, and that is in which various types of secondary metabolites in plants, fungi and bacterial cells is mentioned. So first that is pigments, which include carotenoids, anthocyanins and etc. Alkaloids, example morphine, codeine. Terpenoids, monoterpenes and diterpenes. Essential oil include lemongrass oil. Toxins, aspirin and ricin. Lectins, concanavaline A. Drugs, pinablastin and curcumin. Polymeric substances like rubber, gums and cellulose, which are being commercially used. So that's all about the secondary metabolites. Let's quickly recall that metabolites are those which are produced at the intermediate or end of the metabolism, that is catabolic and anabolic reactions, and all these are having carbon compound, hence they are called biomolecules, which means what? Biomolecules are instead called as metabolites since they are produced at the intermediate or end of the metabolism. And these metabolites are classified into two types. Primary metabolites, which participate in normal physiology and development, includes micro and macro biomolecules. Animal cells produces only primary metabolites. In plants, fungi and bacterial cells, there is production of many metabolites other than primary metabolites, and they do not take part in normal physiology and development, hence they are called secondary metabolites, and their function in the producing organism is not clear. And the secondary metabolite examples include rubber, gums, antibiotics, flavonoids, terpenoids, spices and many. And the function is not known, as I said mentioned earlier, but they are important for human welfare, like gum, rubber, antibiotics, spices. They are commercially being used, and some of the secondary metabolites play important role in the ecological maintenance. For example, production of scent is helpful for attraction of the insect. Gums will gives a defense against the infectious agents. And you have to remember about this table, and this table is very important. They may give like matching type questions like that they may give. So in next class, let's start with the detailed study of proteins. Until then, bye.